final leg of our Normandy and gems of the Seine cruise with Scenic has delivered us to Auvers-sur-Oise, more simply known as the Painters' Village, owing to its connection to one of the most famous artists of all time. Van Gogh arrived in the village here in May 1890, and although thoroughly depressed and lonely, was immediately inspired to paint, and within a period of 70 days produced 80 paintings of the village and the surrounds, among them some of his most renowned works. 2 months later, he shot himself in the chest and died. He leaves a lasting and long legacy, though, and a visit to the village today is like taking a stroll through a Van Gogh masterpiece. Located less than 30 k's from the heart of Paris, the town remains a welcome refuge for the artistic community. Of course, Van Gogh wasn't the only painter to be inspired by the village, was he? There were greats like Cézanne, Monet.
Oh yeah, they went before him. There were a lot of painters before him and loads of painters after him.
Yeah.
But after him, it was because of him.
Today, is it still a village of artists?
It's a village of artists, but the painters don't paint the landscape today.
Yeah.
You know, they paint in the studio.
And you live here, don't you?
Yes.
And you're a musician as well?
Yes, all my neighbors are musicians or painters. We share art.
The hotel where Van Gogh lived and died in the late 1800s now operates as a museum and restaurant.
He was on the smallest room, the cheapest room.
So from here he set forth each day. He was inspired by the light, he was inspired by the fields and the greenery and the flowers.
Yes. He would run left, right, east, west, north, south to look for a spot to paint. And often it takes him a long time to decide, I have to go there.
Although Van Gogh only spent his final few months in Auvers, it was the most productive time of his life. The town is a living, breathing gallery of his works. And this is the difference between the mere mortal man and the artist. We see a church, he sees a masterpiece, doesn't he?
Yes. He looks for the spots to paint, but in fact he's not painting the subject. He's painting in state of mind.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes.
His emotion. He says, I choose the colors of my emotion.
Before cruising to our final destination of Paris, we have one more stop in the French countryside, and it sure is a beauty. If you were never to visit Chantilly Castle, you could never possibly fathom or appreciate the grandeur, the magnificence, the size. I could give you hundreds of years of history as a background story, but that'd take a week. Suffice to say, such scale and opulence comes down to the usual. One bloke attempting to outdo the other. I could either drop my strides or I could build this. First built in the 11th century as a defensive fortress, Chantilly Castle has slowly evolved over the years, with its latest incarnation created by the Duke of Aumale, son of the last King of France, considered to be one of the greatest collectors of his time. Wow, this is very impressive, isn't it? So what's so significant about this?
It is the second largest historical collection after the Louvre in France. It's 3 Raphael, and it's a jewel.
The jewel,
masterpiece in there. What's impressive is that we are in an old museum. It's a museum that it stayed the same still of the 20th century.
It was declared a historic monument in 1988 and opened up to the public for tours. There are some manuscripts here from 1200s. It's remarkable.
Yes, it's a second collection of all manuscripts in France.
Right. And it's a magnificent room too. I mean, even the design of the room is magnificent, isn't it?
It's a shrine. That means what is outside the book must be as beautiful as what is in the book.
Artists always talk about the light. Theirs is an endless search to capture it, to play with it. I can't say that I ever really understood until now maybe, to see it ripple upon Monet's pond, to see it smooch his lilies, to feel the tortured light of Van Gogh's village of Auvers, to be delivered to each upon the shimmering twinkle of the Seine, to a final destination of Paris, the city of light, I feel as though maybe, finally, with this fabulous cruise, I've perhaps seen the light.